I took nearly $1 million and went out and, paid. I didn't negotiate very well. I could have used that cash for something else or leveraged something to get financing at a low interest rate.
So ultimately, we're empowering the business owner themselves to be a better business owner. One of the most dangerous things you can do is be a business owner by yourself and be alone.
Let's talk about your business, because I think this is kind of segueing really nicely into kind of what you guys do and how you guys are set apart from other programs. And I see this all the time, man. Like, you could get lost in the sea of fitness programs and coaches that are out there. You guys have been in this gig for well over a decade. We're coming almost 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And you've worked with a lot of gyms. You've helped them not only scale their business, but you don't overpromise and underdeliver. A lot of times you're over-delivering and underpromising purposely, so that way they set real expectations. And that's one of the, I would say, cornerstone pieces of your business, is making sure that you're setting good expectations. So what do you think is the biggest difference between FR, Fitness Revolution, and really a lot of these other programs that are out there that are making these big claims? Because I see them on my feeds all the time, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely one of the biggest things we combat against a lot is those unrealistic claims that warps reality and have unrealistic expectations, obviously coming into agreements and stuff. And it just ultimately hurts the gym owner more and more, because like it gets them focused on the wrong thing. And that's the most important thing, is like understanding where your attention, where your focus needs to be going to have obviously the greatest impact. And I think the biggest thing that differentiates us is the fact that we have a proven framework, operating system, basically, of how to run a fitness business. And one of the things that like our competition could never obviously compete on, unless they decide to go down this route, is like the fact that we started out as a fitness franchise. Like we actually were a brick and mortar franchise, and we sold 250 plus locations using the same operating system. And so it's worked in all different types of markets, regions, things like that, different types of people. I mean, so this system has been able to be vetted and implemented. It's walked through many recessions. It's walked through pandemic. I mean, it doesn't change because it's not a tool. It's not a hack. I think that's like the most important thing. It allows you to have your uniqueness in your business while having an understanding of how to actually build something, how to actually build a proper system in sales and marketing and fulfillment and operations, or sales. Finance. So it allows you to actually understand how to actually build a system. So like what goes behind it. So ultimately, we're empowering the business owner themselves to be a better business owner. Because like I've been kind of on this kick for a little bit now recently of like just like to win at business. Really, it just comes down to stacking up better decisions. And if you can stack up better decisions over time, I mean, you're going to win. You're going to get to where you want to go. But
here's a good piece on that, right? So stacking better decisions, and at the time, you might think that you're making the best decision in the moment. Perfect example was me, 2011, 2010, 2011, set up my first gym, made a lot of good money. So I was cash rich. I had a lot of money in the bank. And on the financing piece, I didn't really know that I could go out and get financing the way that I could. There's more than one way to get financing. I've learned that over the years. But I had the money. So I took nearly $1 million and went out and, paid. I didn't negotiate very well on my TI, and not to say that I didn't negotiate at all. I did have some good things that came my way from it, but the same token, I spent almost all cash on all of my equipment. I spent almost all cash on all the build out, and I could have used that cash for something else or leverage something to get financing at a low interest rate. There's so many things I could have done, and I didn't do it. And a big part of that was not having the knowledge. To your point, I thought I was making the best decision at the time, and I wasn't really stacking anything. So how are you coming in to someone in that scenario, right? You're cash rich, you got money, and you walk in and you go, hey, let's make some better decisions. How are you helping them make a good decision on, the build out of their business?
Well, the biggest, like, I guess in that scenario, like for you yourself, like, did you have like a group of trusted advisors around you that you were vetting this through?
No, I mean, I had family members, and they were more of a sounding board, not really like, hey, I'm going to go do this. What do you think? It was, I'm moving forward and I'm barreling down this road
Mm.
purposely,
Yeah.
you know, and I had this thing in fifth gear. So I had no intention of stopping. It seems like I've made enough right decisions to this point. I've got a lot of money in the bank. So this is probably another right decision. Uh, that's how it appeared, at least
Yeah.
in my own head. And looking in the mirror at the time, I was going, I can't make a wrong decision. It's impossible, right? So how do you? And this is common, I mean, I was a very egotistical, I've got it figured out type of person at that point in time, because it seemed like I was making a lot of really great decisions. I was making a lot of money, and my business was growing very fast. But then I got to a point, and later, I didn't feel a pain until several years later. But at the time, I wouldn't have come to a guy like you. I really wouldn't have. I wouldn't have talked to a coach because I didn't think I needed a coach. And I think that is a very common thing in any business, not just our industry, but in any business. Someone gets to a point and there's a lot that they haven't learned, but they think that they have the answers already. And so they're unwilling to maybe take advice or input. And I think that's the biggest thing, is you got to be open to input. So
Mm.
how do you advise businesses in that segment? They might be open a little bit and willing to listen, or even have a consult with you, but how do you advise if they have the answers already, so to speak?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the early version of me,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's like it's not always about thinking that you have to learn something new. A lot of times it can be just exposing something that you're not paying attention to.
Mm,
And that's like a perfect scenario. It's like in this case, if you had like a trusted advisor or team officer around you that are there to not just yes you, but check you, actually vet your thoughts and force you
mm,
to go through a process of validating and proving out what it is that you're thinking, you probably would have made a different decision. And it's like at the end of the day, it's kind of how much dumb tax do you want to pay? Because like you're going to pay it one way or the other. Like it's going to happen. It's just how much of it do you want to pay it?
well, I paid 250,000 of dumb tax
Yeah,
at one point,
yeah,
so that was
exactly.
painful.
So that's what, like, honestly, one of them in any business, really, it's like one of the most dangerous things you can do is be a business owner by yourself and be alone, because we're emotional creatures. I mean, it's like we're irrational at times, and sometimes our first thought is not our
Mm,
best thought. And if you don't have people around you to check that and to almost protect your business from you, that's where things can get like you're on a roller coaster. You have your highs and you have your lows, and it's you need that buffer, and that's what a good someone who understands how to bounce between a coach, a mentor, and a consultant does for you. And or have building out like kind of like so like your team of advisors around you, your board basically. Like you need to protect your business from you. So it's not always just about thinking that you don't know something. Sometimes it
I
can be
like that.
something as simple as
Yeah.
keeping you emotionally in check.
That's a good point, because I think back then, I may not had, and granted, I mean, there were times when I was pretty closed off and just like focused on trying to achieve what I was trying to get done. And so I was not closed minded, but I didn't want to hear any of the noise because I was just zeroed in. Like I had blinders on. I wanted to get things done. And in certain scenarios, I think that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
unless the things that you're getting done are detrimental to your business. And I think had I had somebody like you who was helping coach or advise, and to your point, because I was this I have it figured out mentality, very A personality, And again, not that that's a bad thing, because I think there's a lot of people out there who have A-type personalities and they crush it and they're always stacking on great decisions, but not all of us are making great decisions. So had you come in at that point in time in my life and said, hey, good idea, right? Because the way you framed it was, yeah, I'll just validate that for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
No problem, thumbs up, good idea, whatever you're wanting to do sounds great. Let's just run it through the machine over here to see if it comes out the way that you think it's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a thing that would probably have helped me, had somebody just said, hey, awesome idea. And by bringing it forth to me and showing me like, here's what this thing could potentially look like, and it also could look like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So which direction you want to go, that probably would have opened my eyes a little bit more, and I would have certainly been a lot more open to making most likely a better decision, not throwing $1 million
Absolutely.
away.
Because I think that's where a lot of people get caught in that thinking that like the only value of like working with a coach or something like that is to show you something that you don't know. And that's not true. That's not
one up them
yeah,
almost. Yeah.
exactly. Like, and that's what leads people to like situations like this where they are on their own, and it's like, no, that's the whole point of having a trusted advisor in your corner, is to walk through these types of scenarios and these situations, and to be that person that's going to challenge the way that you're thinking, because they want the best for your business, and not there's no bias, there's no ego coming into it. It's strictly like, hey, let's look at the facts here, and make sure that this is the best decision for you and your business. And that alone, I mean, I don't know how much money that could save so many people by simply having that person in their corner to do that. I hear mistakes constantly all the time. Like the biggest thing obviously is in like the marketing space, with people just jumping from one thing to the next, with really no understanding of how they're even making a decision to work with whatever vendor it is that
or no
they're
strategy behind
yeah.
marketing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's like they're trying to fix a strategic issue with a tactical response, and it's like it doesn't mesh, and that's where it just keeps them in this loop of never actually getting through the problem that they're trying to fix.
So how do you, I've run across this with a couple other gym owners, and there's like this emotional sense, of owning their gym. They're in a position where they just don't want to let go. Have you been in a position where you've maybe worked with a gym owner and you've had these conversations with them, and you just recognize like, this isn't going to work, right? There's no way that they're going to be able to get out of this because they're so far deep in the hole? Or do you look at it and go, here are your options. Like, you can keep working on this and it's going to take you this long to get there, or close down shop, stop being emotional about it, and maybe start something new later down the road. How do you approach those situations? Because I've run into a lot of gym owners and they're very emotionally attached to their business, and they just keep bleeding out money. It's like catching a falling knife, and as a gym owner, you're in a position trying to figure out everything. You literally are running wild, and your brain is spinning, your wheels are turning. And, the best picture I can imagine is somebody's gears in their brain spinning so much that smoke is coming out their ears, but they need someone to help guide them through this. So what kind of guidance have you given in the past with gym owners like that?
Well, first, it always comes down to understanding and prioritizing order of urgency of what's weighing on them, and like what's going to give them a little bit of the bandwidth to start thinking of better and like where the road needs to be going. But if you don't ever address that immediate issue, like anything, of course, obviously it's going to keep distraction there. Like we've been through like numerous situations like that with different of our coaching partners. From like life situations happen. Like we've had a couple, like we've had like coach partners where he found himself in a divorce and lost the entire business and has to basically start from scratch. Like not in a great place, but we're working him through that and out of that situation. So I mean, it comes down to, obviously, do both parties obviously want to find a solution? If they do, great, then we can work with that. Then the next thing is obviously, like I said, addressing what's going to give you some breathing room. What is it time? Is it money? Like, what is the thing that we have to alleviate quicker than, like, sooner than later type of thing, to start giving you that breathing room. And then we can start chipping away at like where we need to be at, like, milestone wise.
Yeah, and I think it's the same in any business. Like,
Yeah.
so for me with and I find kind of like this similar process that I've been going through. So when I first started FMG, I was at a point where it was just me, my business partner, and the gym owner that I was working with. But then I started getting through this process, and all day long, from 5 a.m. until usually around like 3 a.m. the next day, I literally was working that much, and it was killing me. I mean, it was really crushing my time and crushing my ability to really think clearly. And at the time, I had hired this girl to help babysit because I was a single father at the time. She'd come in and she'd watch my son. And when she was watching my son, she's like 18 years old. And then I get back home at like maybe 10 o'clock at night, and she'd leave. And then I get back to work because my son would already be asleep. But I went ahead and checked to see if she would help me out because I was so overloaded with work. And I was like, maybe she can do some other things. So then she started. I trained her how to do some HR stuff. I trained her how to do some payroll stuff. Then she ended up going to school for some of these things. And over time, I started having other people within the business helping with some of these lower level items. I had no idea how to really do all this. It was just kind of like going. And as I was going, I was trying to fill holes. But then looking at it now today, even with BizOps, with the software, I'm at a point where we've grown, and then I was able to hire somebody, and now I know what to look for, right? Because I've been through that process before and gone through that training experience. And so I knew that I had to find an executive assistant to help out with some of my duties and my functions, responding to emails, scheduling, checking my calendar, handling some of the things that consume time. But there's enough of those things in the day that it takes up 2, 3, 4 hours of my day of just back and forth. But it has saved me tremendous amount of time. So I wouldn't have been able to identify that was the thing that I needed had I not gone through a program for SaaS with Dan Martell to get some coaching on some of these basic things. And when he talked about it, I'm going, I mean, I guess I did that in the past, but I didn't really recognize that was the thing that I needed. So I guess I need to plug that thing in, right? I have the tool, but I need to go use that tool in order to fix this problem. So I would say something similar to, maybe is that kind of similar to what you guys do? Like, you'll recognize what tools people in their business have already or what tools they might need. And then you're advising them on how to build out their business, right? Here's how you do it.
Exactly. Yep. That's the process. It's not like as you say, like a cookie cutter approach in that sense. It's like we understand, like, we have to meet you where you're at, what you have available to you, what you've been doing, where you want to go with things. And then it's okay. Now let's put these pieces together and start actually like building something solid here.
So if somebody wants to work with you, what are the prerequisites? Like, what are the expectations to work with Fitness Revolution? If somebody's going to listen to this, right? Either through an email, or they're going to see it on, YouTube, or they're going to listen to it on a podcast. So what kind of advice or what direction would you give them? What requirements do they need to have, I guess, in order to work with you? Because I found, I get these things all the time, and it'll say, in order to do this, or in order to work with this, you have to be doing this amount in revenue and annual recurring revenue, right? For us as a SaaS company. Is there something like that with you guys? Like, you have a bar that you want them to hit before they can come in and work with you? Otherwise, it just doesn't quite make sense.
No, not in particular. I mean, we've taken people from literally concept to actually building a business to people who are already doing 30, 40,000 a month and scale them to 100,000 a month. So, I mean, like, that's I mean, we can pretty much meet you wherever you're at in the journey. Now, how we provide the solution may be a little different. Like someone earlier on who really just needs more kind of that hand holding and more information at that point because they are so new and green to it. That's where we have options for that, where like we can basically have like you have access to advisors where you can ask questions and get feedback and get good answers to keep you moving forward if you're like just in those early stages and you just need information, you need the right information. And then we have our like obviously our one-to-one coaching option as well, high performance coaching, where obviously you're working more intimately with a success coach in obviously building out your business framework, basically, to wherever you are to wherever you want to go with it. Obviously, everyone has different outcomes or different things that they're working towards achieving. But when it comes to building fitness businesses, now, I mean, we can pretty much, like I said, take you, if it's still even just a thought in your mind, to people who have been in the game 5-10 years plus and now looking to get past whatever sticking point that they're in.
So the big thing in any marketing program or any marketing campaign is they always talk about, you need proof, you need social proof, you need testimonials, you need some kind of validity, right? That what you're doing has value and it's true. And then there's the other component of price points. So is it okay if I ask the question? I mean, I can always cut this out, but is it okay if I ask the question of kind of like what the price range might be for different types of packages for gym owners?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so. I mean, like basically, our price range, depending on what makes sense for you and what you need. I mean, it can be anywhere from $99 a month to $500 a month. And then we have like our higher level mastermind program, but that's more invite kind of basically that's where you do have to have like certain prerequisites in place. You have to have your business in a certain place because we want to make sure everyone's coming into that room collectively adding value to each person in that room. So that's more of something you can work towards working with us. But generally, our standard range is between $99 to $500 a month.
Okay. And then you're just working with them based on their needs and their growth plans, and you're customizing a solution really as a consultant basis, helping them grow their business because of the background that you guys have.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this isn't like a 3-month program or something like that where you're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna do this type of thing. It's like everyone's business is a little different. Everyone has a little different vision of how they want to build their business, and just even like scenarios that we talked about before. Of sometimes it's not always like just about building out specific systems or frameworks within your business. Sometimes it's like, okay, we need to talk through some of your thoughts, or like we need to be that vetting process for you and help establish that. It can be focusing on building your team and like leadership capabilities. So I mean, like it's really that's the difference between having like a true, like I said, like business advisor or strategist in your corner versus just like joining a program where it's like, hey, ABC, you do this and this is it type of thing.
Really appreciated Justin's insights today and the valuable lessons that he shared with us, such as success isn't about having to know everything. Success a lot of times is about who you surround yourself with and the pressure that they put on you or the challenges that they put on you to help you grow. So if you're in your journey of like going to that next stage, maybe sometimes all you need is just to surround yourself with some different people that have maybe a different point of view to help you grow and allow you to ask some questions. If you like today's episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you feel like somebody else might get some value out of it, please share it with them. And sharing is caring, as my kids always say, so I like to ask for that share if you could get it. And if you have things that you want to hear that we haven't delivered upon yet, please hit me up. Let me know what you want to hear, and we'll see what we can do there. And as always, I'll see you on the flip side. This is Sweat Success.